Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, the Indianapolis Colts at Houston Texans. We're at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. Let's start with the line history here for this one. Move over here and grab it. We have this opened up in the look ahead, or at least at Bet Online at -1.5. That's not the case. Oh, actually, it was the case here too. Wow, I didn't realize how big of a move there's been. Wow, holy shit. Wow, +2 the Colts opened up at, and they're now -2.5. It's not a real 2.5; it's more of a 2. They got to -2.5. That's a 4.5 point move yesterday at 5:07 p.m. That -2.5 at -103 at that number, the market started moving towards Houston at that point, and now there's four at that number at 2.5. There's been 14 cents of movement towards Houston, but that's a huge move. A dog to favorite is a huge, huge move. From a total scenario, we're sitting at 40 at Pinnacle. There are 39.5s on the board. This did open at 40. It opened very low. And for coin, it opened -2.5, so even more. Wow. Okay, so there we go. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for this Colts Texans spot. We have 37% of the tickets and 47% of the cash on the Texans, and the line's moving, briskly away from them. 65% of tickets, 96% of cash on the under, and that makes a ton of sense to me. Colts come in off a 31-21 loss at home to the Jaguars. They closed as 3.5 point dogs, but they were up to 5.5 for a lot of that. They were up 21-17 heading in the fourth quarter, but couldn't get the job done. They were 2 of 12 on third down, 1 of 5 on fourth down, 1 of 3 in the red zone, and that won't cut it. And that's not all on Anthony Richardson's shoulders. I mean, he went 24-37 for 23 yards, touchdown, and a pick. He also ran 4 times with the touchdown. But with Jonathan Taylor on the PUP, so he's going to be out for the first 4 weeks of the season, and then Zach Moss out with the forearm injury, Deion Jackson was atrocious. I mean, they need to do something immediately. They need to get somebody in there ASAP. 13 carries for 14 yards and a touchdown, 5 passes he caught for 14 yards, and he lost 2 fumbles. Then you have Michael Pittman Jr., who's an absolute monster, getting double teamed nonstop because there's nobody else that's dangerous in that wide receivers group. He 8 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. The Colts front 7 couldn't get enough pressure on Lawrence despite the weak Jaguars offensive line, despite Scherf going down. They couldn't. 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and then that counts that DeForest Buckner, Tank Bigsby, just bizarre situation. Zaire Franklin and Shaq Leonard were all over the field. They're very strong. Can you trust Shaq Leonard to be in the lineup from week to week? Tony Brown had an interception. They held the Jags to 3 of 12 on third down, but they couldn't stop them in the red zone. The Jags were perfect in the red zone. And then tight end Drew Ogletree is in concussion protocol. The DeMeco Ryans era in Houston began with that 25-9 loss at Baltimore's 9.5 point dogs. They were down just 7-6 at the half. First career game, second overall pick, CJ Stroud, 28-44, 242 yards. He ran 4 times for 20 yards. He got sacked 5 times, lost a fumble. Nico Collins caught 6 for 80. Robert Woods caught 6 for 57. And Damian Pierce didn't look great in that first game. He ran 11 times for 38 yards and caught 2 for 9. Devin Singletary did not have a good first game for the Texans. It was ugly. Ran 7 times for just 15 yards. They were 0-2 in the red zone. But the defense looked good. And the defense can be trusted. They finished with 4 sacks and 7 quarterback hits, and Steven Nelson had an interception. So this is the problem, is that Houston can stop the run. They're great against the run, and the Colts can't run. And it's too bad. I think we're going to want Houston when they go up against teams that have a great running game, and the Houston Texans are big dogs. Jimmy Ward was inactive. He's dealing with that hip injury for a long time. So now they're without 2 safeties because Jalen Petrie left with that bruised lung. That's a bruised lung. Like, he had to spend the night in the hospital. I don't see how he's going to be in the lineup. So they're going to go into this game without Jimmy Ward or Jalen Petrie. And, I mean, the Texans held the Ravens to 53 passing yards and 7 points in the first half. Well, what happened in the second half? Well, Petrie got hurt. George Fant also has shoulder injury, starting right tackle. They need him out there. With Fant out, they brought in Michael Dieter, and that very first snap that Dieter was in there was when Pierce got the sack fumble on CJ Stroud. this market, now that I've talked it out, this market move towards the Colts makes perfect sense, regardless of the fact that the Colts don't have a running game, because you take out the two safeties for the Colts, you take out Fant. I mean, all of a sudden the Texans look, take out two safeties for the Texans and take out Fant. Now the Texans look weak. It's weak as fuck. Take it away for us. Colts, Texans, Troy.
I'll make this one pretty quick because this is when I first looked at this and started profiling this game, I thought it was more of a coin flip and the number was spot on. I mean, it's a 50-50 proposition. I just want to touch on the Colts again. I mean, this defense ranked number 1 against the run, top 14 in coverage, and 6th in pass rush, where this defense prior to the season was ranked as one of the worst defensive units in the league. I think all of them were bottom, 10% of the league. So that was just super interesting to me. I kind of missed. I was prepping up for my Chiefs first half bet, so I kind of missed what you were saying. Did you say Gardner Minshew may be starting or what?
No, I didn't touch on.
Healthy?
I didn't touch on the Minshew situation at all.
Oh yeah, I think I would actually like the Colts better. I feel like if Minshew was the starter. Just a more seasoned vet instead of having rookie versus rookie. You got a seasoned vet handling the Colts, and like you already touched on, the Texans' struggles on defense, and now they're missing some pieces. And I thought the defense was impressive too. The offense was stagnant. Stroud is a rookie quarterback. Didn't look very good in his first game, but he was in a tough environment. Let's be honest. I mean, playing in Baltimore, your first NFL game, that's not very very favorable for the young rook. But the O-line blocking for the Texans was not good. They ranked 25th or lower in both pass and run blocking. I think that as the season goes on, we'll see Stroud take some strides forward, and this Texans team maybe look more appealing to me in the future. But right now, I just don't feel like I can move on this spot. But I do want to point out something that I pulled out of the database. When a home favorite turns into a home dog, when a home favorite of less than 2 turns into a home dog of less than 2, the home team is 5-2 ATS, 5-2 straight up. So the line move in this range, and that's over the last 3 years. The line move in this range doesn't mean as much as it does in others.
Interesting. So for me, this is simple. I need to know that Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie are inactive. If I find out that they're not in and Fant is not in, if all 3 of those guys are not in, I'm going to bet the Colts, regardless of who's at quarterback and who's at running back. So,
yeah, I don't want to put too much emphasis on. I would love if Gardner Minshew was the quarterback. I don't think it's all that big of a change. I just think he'll be able to weather the storm better when it comes, because it does in football. It's the nature of the beast.
So this is not going to be a bet tonight. Obviously, the Wednesday injury report is crucial for a lot of these spots, but that's going to be the plan for me. I need to know what's going on with Jimmy and Jalen, and if they're out, and even if Fant's in, if they're both out and Fant's in, I'm still going to fade them, because it doesn't matter. The Colts can't run, and it doesn't matter. All right, let's roll on.